everyone, and welcome back to For St. Pete's Sake. This is the official podcast of the Stonewall Democrats of Pinellas County, where we deep dive into everything political here in Pinellas, Florida, and beyond. Today, I'm really excited. We've got a great guest with us, but first, let me introduce my co-host, Laura Gherkin, our vice president. Laura, how are you?
I'm great, Christian. How are you doing today?
Another day in paradise. I'm just trying to figure out whose paradise it is.
Hey, at least it's sunny for most of the day. It's been like all this rain and grayness. I was like, this is not what I moved to Florida for, okay? Like, I ran away from that. I'm going to need the sun. And today we've gotten sun.
It's been stormy here the past couple of days. I can't believe it, but
Yeah.
we definitely needed it. But I think we're
for
good
sure.
for a little while
Absolutely.
now.
Yeah, I think so.
So we have a fantastic representative with us today, and I want to give her a time to introduce herself, but all the way from District 14 here in Florida, this is U.S. Representative Kathy Castor. Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Christian. Hey, Laura. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. We're coming to the end of the congressional district work period, where we're working at home all of August and getting out and about. And it's been really nice to be home.
Yeah, I can imagine that DC seems a little crazy right now. But we'll get into that. All right, so I do want to give you some time to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background, if you don't mind. So the floor is yours.
Well, I'm the hometown girl. I'm Tampa-based Congresswoman. I grew up here in the Tampa Bay area my entire life. I'm a graduate of Chamberlain High School in Tampa, but I spent a lot of my early days of my youth all the way up through Beach Week on the beaches of Pinellas County. But it's a real privilege to represent my neighbors in the Congress I'm in. It's hard for me to believe, but I'm in my 10th term, standing up for my neighbors, providing a voice for them, work a lot on the affordability crisis right now, and spend a lot of time on trying to fix our broken healthcare system, address the housing crunch, and a lot on clean energy and climate change. But since the hurricane season of last year, it's been job number one has been to help people recover from Hurricanes Helene and Milton.
Yeah, absolutely. And if, I'll take that and just hop right in. I know that personally, so maybe I'm a little bit of a masochist, and during hurricane season, I went and watched the Disney Plus Nat Geo documentary on Hurricane Katrina. It was very good. Recommend you watch it. Maybe not as living in the Gulf part of the state during hurricane season, but that is not like the size of Katrina, because I think we've had storms bigger than that since then. But my fear after watching that documentary and the way the current administration is acting is that the failure points that were for FEMA, and like lack of coordination between the federal government and the state government, and how that delay that caused 6 days of delay of New Orleans residents sitting in the convention center and in the Superdome without food and water. So I know we're different than New Orleans. We're not below water, below sea level and all that jazz, but how worried are we about FEMA in hurricane season as, with climate change, our storms get stronger and stronger?
Very worried, very worried. And okay. This might surprise you, but you take all of the 435 congressional districts across America, and if you measure the amount of hurricane disaster aid that has come to congressional districts, our district is number one for the past couple of years because of the widespread storm surge of Helene, primarily, but also the flooding of Milton. But what I saw on the ground in the days after the hurricanes, I saw a very active FEMA. I saw those inspectors walking door to door, checking on people, cutting emergency checks right away, delivering supplies. They had the search and rescue teams out coordinating with local emergency managers. It was a good response. Now, FEMA does need reform. There's too much red tape. But here's my concern right now. Just this week, hundreds of FEMA public servants sent a letter to the president and said, We are raising red flags the week of the anniversary of Katrina, that you could suffer the same kind of catastrophe, the inability to respond to a disaster, um, unless you change course, because they have fired people, they've bullied them out. You know, a lot of that rhetoric of we're gonna eliminate FEMA. They've at least backed off on that after that terrible tragedy in Texas and the whole country of Texas. But I hate to be the bearer of bad news. FEMA is not ready for a major catastrophe right now.
Whew, okay. I appreciate the honest answer, even if it is a little scary, because we need to know that. And because that is, something that will impact us, directly here should we have, an active or any strong hurricane come through. So,
Yeah. I've read a bit about what's going on at FEMA and what they're going through and the cuts that have been taken, and it's quite frightening. As someone who has lived here in Florida my entire life, I am the hometown boy, if you want to call it. I've seen the devastation of Katrina and what that did to New Orleans and how that affected us here. And then I've seen the storms after that. Like you said, Helene and Milton last year really took a toll on us. We didn't get the worst of it, but we definitely it hurt. So to hear that
yeah.
we're not fully ready is quite worrying. But I know you guys are doing everything you can, and that we just have to be prepared and we have to do our
Yeah.
own things.
I mean, we are fortunate in Florida because we've experienced so many of these storms. We have pretty good emergency managers across the state and locally, but there's just no substitute for that major partner
Mhm.
of FEMA to come in when local resources are strapped, when you lose electricity and the tankers can't come in to deliver gas. Could you believe it? Last year you saw people, law enforcement guarding gas stations with
Yeah.
weapons. That one is really stuck with me. And then what's also disconcerting right now is they try to pretend that climate change isn't happening, and we know the Gulf waters are so hot, and that's one reason Helene and Milton spun up so
Hmm.
quickly and intensified so
Mhm.
quickly, and they grow. Like Katrina was a massive storm. Helene, also, if you go back and look at it, was a massive storm
Hmm.
in
Mhm.
size. Ian, Irma, so we better be ready. We better be focused on resilience and making our homes and communities stronger, to prepare for what lies ahead.
Absolutely. Have your emergency
Mhm.
kits ready. Have your emergency kits ready. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
So, as we're talking about like the local district concerns and things like that, housing affordability is a big one, and displacement are major issues here in Tampa Bay. What federal rules or federal tools or legislation do you believe could best address rising housing costs in District 14?
I know it's just not affordable anymore. It used to be quite the affordable
And
place.
it's not
St.
just here;
Pete.
it's everywhere. I want to make that point. It's not just 14; it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Growing up here, it was pretty darn affordable, and our wages lag behind, and now our wages are still lagging behind, but things are really expensive. So I try to use every avenue through federal policy to help lower cost, whether that's helping get more funds back down for rental assistance for first-time home buyers, to help the city of St. Pete, who's done a lot to try to build more housing. Like I have an earmark right now to turn the Ed White Hospital to help them turn it into senior housing, as a lot of those
Mhm.
neighbors are being pushed out of expensive condos. You
Mhm.
saw Lane de Gregory write about that great, the Innovare there that has taken a lot of the unhoused off the streets to put them into housing. Um, Now it's recently supported the low income housing tax credit that incentivizes builders to build multifamily with affordable rents for a change. I like what the city of St. Pete is doing on YIMBY, on trying to get more accessory dwellings allowed. Um, and then I really focused on transit too, the expansion of the Sunrunner, because if you can get to your job or to to St. Pete College in an affordable way, then you don't have to carry car insurance. Oftentimes, you can maybe just have one vehicle in the household, and I think transit is critical to making sure people can get around and live affordably too.
Yeah, and our public
So
transportation
much.
just in District 13 and 14, it's not the greatest. I know in Tampa we have the trolley that goes around downtown and is connected to
Yeah.
Ybor, and I know there was some talk about expanding that. I don't know if that's already underway, but I know here in St. Pete, the only thing that we have in terms of public transportation is the bus system and the Sunrunner, and it's not the greatest. So it's good
Yeah.
to hear that we're working on that at least.
Yeah, there are
Now,
roadblocks. It's unfortunately become way too partisan. We have to. I don't know why my Republican friends don't like public transit, because where you invest, you often see uh, new small businesses locating
yeah.
there. It lifts people up. They can get to jobs. Yeah, we can do a whole lot better.
Now, speaking of public transportation, would expanding, like, say, the Bright Line to go to Tampa or from Tampa to Orlando, is that something that the federal government would help partner with the state on, or is that something that's more of a state responsibility?
Laura, you're giving me PTSD. We had a high-speed rail. We had it under
I
President
know.
Obama that was going to come from
I
Orlando.
know.
They were measuring in the I-4 right of way, and that
Yeah.
would have been built. That was 2009. Of course, Rick Scott killed it for no good reason. But here we are, what, 16 years later. Yes, Brightline is planning to come across the same right of way. It's a private entity. They do plan to come into Ybor City as the landing spot, and but then what? Then where are people going to go?
Right.
You're going to have Ubers lined up. You're going to use those little helicopters they're talking about to get across the bay. No, we've got to work on transit connections across the bay. The new director at Tampa International Airport has an idea to have them be a catalyst to get folks across the bay. There's no reason to you arrive here for your vacation in St. Pete Beach, and that you have to get a car. Why?
Right.
That shouldn't be the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree 100%. And they just closed down the ferry, didn't they? Didn't they completely close that down?
I think so. Yeah. For the Cross Bay Ferry. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that
Well,
lost
actually,
funding.
we had a big grant for Hillsborough County Regional Transit HART to run the ferry. The county commission took a turn. They said they didn't that in HART they didn't want to take those federal funds anymore, but thankfully, Darden Rice and the folks at PSTA, they said, you know what, we could use those funds. We'll go out and buy our own ferries. So uh, we've actually, surprise, surprise, been able to transfer that federal grant to the Pinellas side. So they're shopping for some
Fantastic.
ferries, and they intend to ramp up service.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. I had
That's
never
Yeah.
heard of that. That's
amazing.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. All right. Well, let's talk about redistricting. So we're seeing the attacks on Tampa, where Trump was like, "I am entitled to 5 more seats, so I'm going to change the plans there, change the district maps there." Now we're seeing California kind of step back and push back against that. Gavin Newsom is doing the whole go against redistricting plan, and it's great. How worried are we about the president coming to Florida and trying to? We already have some of the worst district lines in the country.
Yeah.
How are we? How do you feel about that? Are you worried that he's coming to Florida at all to kind of kick us out again?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Christian, they've already sent that directive to the Florida legislature and Governor DeSantis, and the Florida Speaker of the House has now announced he intends to move forward with a select committee on redistricting. And here's what's going on. The president, he said, I'm going to be elected and I'm going to lower your cost of living. That's what I'm going to do on day one. Well, all they've done is make life more expensive for people, and they've been cruel. They have taken a hatchet to a lot of our civil rights laws, equal protection, his war on LGBT community, you name it. So their policies are very unpopular, and they know they're going to lose the House majority. So what do? Do they change their policies? No. Instead, they say, let's rig the rules of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to. I've never heard of you go and do redistricting 5 years in from the census. That's cheating.
Yeah.
That's rigging the game. But that's what they did in Texas. So good for Gavin Newsom to respond, and it looks like here in Florida they intend to do that. The legislature will go to committee in October and meet in session in January, February.
Okay, so I mean, I guess it was inevitable that, because anything Texas does, just we seem to follow, and then Ohio does it after us. So it seemed inevitable, but it doesn't. At least it doesn't seem like they're going to call a special session for it, or the governor's not going to, do that. So little bit of a silver lining there, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's probably in their interest to drag it out, because then people don't know how to respond. But they know the backlash is coming in the Congress. I mean, that we went through this the first time Trump was elected. Remember, they had the House majority, but people were angry over his policies, the chaos, the confusion, the corruption, and there was a massive backlash. And Democrats took the House majority again, and they know it's coming because look at their big ugly bill. They're ripping health care away from families, taking away food assistance from veterans and older neighbors and kids, adding $3 trillion to the national debt. These are very unpopular policies. So they know the wave is coming, and they're just trying to cheat the game.
Yeah. I mean, and to that end, Florida is seeing the restrictions to voter access, kicking everybody off the mail-in ballot list every year, and now the changes that they've made to school curriculum, limiting what books and how history is being taught. I think I saw the Diary of Anne Frank got removed this week, so that's a little disturbing. What work are you doing to help, to help ensure that all Florida's voices are heard, like, from the LGBTQ community and the Black community and your Hispanic community, all of which are being targeted by the administration?
Well, there's what you do on the federal level in Congress, and then what you're doing on the ground practically. So in Congress, we're really trying to pass the John Lewis Voter Rights Act that would update the Voting Rights Act and really get into trying to get big money out of politics. It really has corrupted the whole thing, that big corporations have outside voices from the average person. And then on the local level, it's really making sure people are engaged citizens. That you're absolutely right, Laura. They said, "Oh, you registered to vote by mail. Well, guess what? You're going to have to sign up again." Trying to tell folks everywhere we go, get your vote by mail. Make sure you're signed back up. Making sure you know who your elected reps are, that you are communicating with them. Encouraging people to run for office, making sure they have the tools necessary to know who's on your side, who's voting for, believes in equal rights and non-discrimination, and who doesn't. And sometimes they hope you're not paying attention, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we've been under the flood the zone theory of the case for the last 8 months now. It's like, okay, I need to breathe.
And that's definitely what they're doing. They're just trying to get everything that they can to rig the system, like you said, and it's just blatant hypocrisy. It is absolutely blatant hypocrisy. Them getting mad at what California is doing in response to Texas. I just hope that other governors in the blue states will look at the same thing. I know it's harder for the blue states because we have actually put in, or they have put in for the fair redistricting, but
impartial boards and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Christian, that's a great point. The Florida voters have already spoken loud and clear that they want fair districts. A
Yeah.
few cycles ago, we added to the Florida Constitution fair district standards that prohibit the legislature from drawing legislative and congressional districts for a particular candidate and for partisan gain and for racial discriminatory reasons. But unfortunately, that did not stop Governor DeSantis, after reapportionment, from forcing through his map. So we're living under his map right now. So yeah, he's kind of hypocritical to say, "Oh, it's time to redistrict again," when this is the map that he forced, and even the legislature's original maps adhere generally to the fair district standards, but he didn't care. He didn't respect the voters. He didn't respect Floridians enough to follow the law and follow the rules. And now he's trying to rig the game again.
Yeah. It sucks, but like I said, I hope that our other blue state governors are ready. Um, so let's go ahead and let's talk about the issues of the LGBTQ community. You've been a consistent ally to the LGBTQ plus community. We're seeing a lot of attacks here in Florida, Texas, Ohio. A lot of the same things where they're banning books for no reason. They're banning pride flags. Florida just made it a rule that street murals are illegal. So the street mural that we have here in Pinellas, the Black Lives Matter one, or the Black History Matters one, and then also the intersection with the rainbow crosswalk. They're about to take that down. We just saw them do it in Orlando, right outside the Pulse Memorial. Um, how do you see the role of federal representatives in standing up for queer Floridians right now?
It's very important to be outspoken at this moment because I believe everyone deserves to live freedom, live their life free of discrimination.
Hmm.
They no one should be subjected to discrimination. And what I've seen since the Republicans took the majority in the House of Representatives, there's just been an all-out onslaught to roll back the progress we've made on equal rights in America. It's very mean spirited. They have forced, I would say, almost 100 anti LGBT votes on the floor of the House right now.
Hmm.
They've stood idly by while the Trump administration eliminates all sorts of initiatives to promote diversity and civil rights. Look at what they're doing in the Department of Defense. That's wrong. They internationally they have taken, how sad is it that we used to be the beacon of human rights for the world, and now that's not, you can't say that anymore. They don't advocate for human rights internationally. And then yeah, but it really did. There's nothing more visceral than the mean spiritedness of going to the Pulse nightclub memorial, um, where a lot of the Republican members and the governor himself, they said, "Oh, this is an important memorial to the people who lost their lives during that tragedy." 49,
Yeah.
and how despicable is it that they go in the middle of the night and paint that over, and then the other part of it is it too. What a colossal waste of time and money. I mean, are there
Exactly.
not potholes around town to fill in to use those money? So they're going to waste our tax money going in and painting this over. Why don't they get a transportation infrastructure plan for a change? We focused on Democrats focused on improving transit and infrastructure and safer streets and helping the port and modernizing the airport uh, and this is their transportation policy to waste our money on just painting over crosswalks like that beautiful one in St. Pete or Black Lives Matter. So I suggested to Mayor Welch in the city, I think as they prepare to cover Tropicana Field and repair it, I think we do like a massive rainbow covering. What do you
Oh my
think?
That
gosh,
would be
that's
so
such an
Yeah,
cool.
amazing idea.
That would be amazing. I love
I
that.
can just see that because you could like it's already such a when especially when the roof's on, it's already such a beacon of like the skyline and everything, and like yeah, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I love that idea.
but I think people can really they can. I know it's the cruelty. It really gets to you after a while. So I say to folks, get the flags out. Don't keep them just for Pride Month. Now think about. I can't wait to see what Chad Mize is going to do and
Oh, I
St. Pete
know.
and a lot of the other artists. I think they don't know what they have done. There's going to be a run on paint, on all colors of paint at local stores. I think you're about to see an explosion of color, especially in
Absolutely.
St. Pete.
Oh, for sure. And that's what yeah, like you said, it's so silly that they're wasting this money on repainting it. I saw in Orlando they are now got have police stationed at the crosswalk because they keep rechalking it. Like that's just a waste of money and resources too. And it's just uh, for what? For what? I mean, it's literally just and this is it shows like to me people there's punditry talk or people say like, "Oh, they're playing 3D chess. It's like they're making these moves." And I'm like, "No, because if they were really smart, they could have started with this crosswalk in St. Pete and we would have been mad, but it wasn't tied to a memorial of lives lost where for 49 Floridians where you have Ron DeSantis and other members of the Florida, Republican Party in on photo, like helping signing the wall, helping paint it, like being there for the dedication. So they're mean and they're just not smart about it either, too, is what gets me.
Yeah, and we've kind of lived through something like this before. About 20 years ago, here in Hillsborough County, I don't know if you heard the story of a county commissioner named Rhonda Storms. I
What?
was on the Hillsborough County Commission at that time, and she got upset that there was a gay pride display in a local library. It was very modest. So she of course overreacted, and she brought to the Hillsborough County Commission a total ban on gay pride in Hillsborough County. So the county would never sponsor it. They could not have library displays. And you know what happened? They passed it, but people got angry. People of all stripes. They said that's not fair. That's not the kind of community we are. We're a loving and kind and accepting community. And there was a major backlash again politically. That a young guy named Kevin Beckner, who was a gay man, he said, "Well, guess what? I'm going to run for the Hillsborough County Commission." And he ran and he won. And then he brought up and Hillsborough County didn't have a human rights ordinance to prohibit discrimination in accommodations um, and in the workplace. And Kevin brought the human rights ordinance back, and it actually passed. So you have to turn 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 your anger into action. Turn it into something constructive. Use your political power. Don't just scoff and have a beverage and call it a day. Put it into building a political movement to fight back.
Oh yeah. And if
Yeah.
there's one thing we're used to, it's fighting back, and we will continue to fight back. We have to. Um, I know we're getting low on time here, so we've got a few rapid fire questions, if you don't mind, before we get to our last segment. So we're just going to go through them real quick, and you can say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right.
All
All
right.
right. So number one, what's your favorite thing to do when you get a rare day off in Tampa Bay?
If it's not hot, I love to go for a bike ride.
Okay. If you could sum up your District 14 in 3 words, what would you use?
It is friendly, dynamic, but laid back at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Absolutely, absolutely. We like to say that St. Pete has its own unique flavor. What's your go-to local restaurant or hidden gem spot? Now, you might cause
So
some stir here.
if I'm doing something fancy, I love Il Ritorno.
Mm,
Oh my gosh, on
yes,
Central. But if I'm out running around South St. Pete on a nice day, I love to go to Chataway's and have a burger and a beer.
Chataway's is very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, politics can be exhausting, as we were just talking about. What's your guilty pleasure, like TV show, podcast, or music that helps you decompress?
Yeah, this is funny. So definitely Dochi lately because she's the hometown. She is helping me, like I'll turn it on full blast and yell, and then the
Yeah,
other is I'll get on Spotify and put on Chill Out Lounge and maybe get a bubble bath.
very nice.
We do love Dochi. Shout out to Dochi, Tampa girl.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. All right, last question. If you weren't serving in Congress, what career do you think you'd be doing instead?
I would be marching in the streets protesting right now.
Yes.
That's most likely what I could do. I was an attorney. I didn't love private practice. It didn't speak to my heart. But if I had to make a living, I'd go back to doing that and protest in the streets.
I love it.
Amazing. Awesome.
All right.
All right. So I think we're time for our final segment, which is our shout out or shut down segment. This is where we take our time to give our praise and shout out something that's been, joyful and happy that's going on. Or if something has been not so joyful and happy, we're going to shut them down. So, do you, Rep Castor, if you would like to go first?
Oh my gosh, let's shut down Donald Trump and his
Oof,
ego. Let's shut
Immediately.
that
yes.
down. He's doing
Immediately.
so much
Down.
damage. He's not helping people with the cost of living. He needs to be shut down. But a shout out to all my Tampa Bay neighbors being out and about all of August. I really love seeing everybody. So keep the faith.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Laura, if you want to go
Christian, do you
next.
want to go?
No, you can go next.
Okay. So mine is a combo. First of all, I would like to shout out my very close personal friend Taylor Swift on her engagement. Um, um, and to that point, I want to shut down everybody that's being lame about our excitement. Like I'm older than Taylor, but for a lot of people, a lot of millennials, like she is a lot of millennial women. She's their voice of what they went through growing up, in the teenage years and, your early 20s and now in our 30s. So, shut down to people that are yucking our yum. But shout out to Taylor for her engagement and, for showing that a 34-year-old cat lady can get the guys. So, hey.
The Swifties are a dangerous group. I don't know if you know about this, but they're more dangerous than the Beehive. I'm scared of the Swifties. I'm scared of the Swifties. All right.
They're not dangerous.
Oh, y'all are scary. Y'all are scary. I no no. I love Taylor. Don't get me wrong, but Swifties are scary. All right, then I definitely want to shut down all of the. It's a shout out and shut down. So I want to shut down all of the redistricting that's happening in Texas because it's just blatantly racist and blatantly hypocritical. The fact that they're coming here to Florida and they're doing it in a whole bunch of red states, it just needs to be shut down immediately because it's so unconstitutional. It's so petty. It's so just disgusting, and I hate to see it. But I do want to shout out the fight back in California and New York, talking about fighting back after redistricting their stuff. We need the blue state governors, like I said, to step up and really get in the fight because we need every single chance we can to come back next year and take the House back and hopefully the Senate, to make sure that you know we're still a country and a democracy in the next 20 years.
Right on, Christian.
For
Absolutely.
sure. For sure.
Well, this has been so great. Thank you so much, Rep Castor, for coming to us and joining us tonight. It's been absolutely wonderful to have you. We absolutely want to have you back one day.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Laura. And like I said, keep the faith, everybody.
We definitely will. Yes, thank you for joining us. Please remember to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We're at For St. Pete's Sake. Subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. And if you could leave a rate and review to help promote the pod, that would be lovely too. We'll be back next week with more stories from the people that are doing the hard work to make our community better. Until next time, for St. Pete's sake, keep pushing for change.